While the Pokemon franchise is mostly known for its magical fighting monsters, there's another side of the Poke world that often gets overlooked. All the human characters that live within the creature-filled regions. Be they fledgling Pokemon trainers, master gym leaders, bosses of criminal organizations, or anything in between, there's a lot of varied and interesting characters found throughout the Pokemon universe. Many of these characters have become fan favorites and had numerous appearances within the games. Other characters are still popular, but unfortunately haven't been brought back into the spotlight since their debut. As someone who really appreciates the human side of Pokemon, I think it's kind of a shame that some of the more well-liked and oftentimes more interesting characters haven't returned. So in today's video, I'm going to go through 5 Pokemon characters that I would like to see brought back in future Pokemon games. Be they as a small cameo, an optional boss, or a major part of the story, these are 5 characters that I think would be awesome picks to throw back into the world of Pokemon. Number 5! Green is a character that for the longest time was in kind of an awkward spot when it came to Pokemon's canon. In the original concept art for Pokemon Red and Green, we can see that she was planned to be a character, but when the games came out, she was nowhere to be found. Though she was technically included in the Pokemon Adventures manga, and then a character with a striking resemblance to her was playable in Fire Red and Leaf Green, it wasn't until over 20 years later when Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee released that Green was made into a full-fledged character in the Pokemon games. Within the newfound lore for Green, she's a tough post-game trainer that is seen hunting down Mewtwo. When she finds out that you beat her to it, she immediately challenges you to a battle without hesitation. Upon defeat, she tries to capture the player and then runs off into the distance without another word. Considering that Red and Blue have been brought back so many times with major and minor roles, I think it's only fair for the third piece of the Kanto trifecta to be seen again. I think it would be cool for Green to be sprinkled in other regions as a secret post-game trainer that's hunting down rare legendaries. Maybe you can join her in a small quest that results in you confronting one of the legendaries, or perhaps when you're about to battle one, she challenges you to a fight right before. There's a lot of potential here, and I think Green could show that you're not the only trainer hunting down legendary Pokemon. Number 4! Silver is one of my favorite Pokemon rivals, not just because he's a jerk, but because he's a jerk that goes through something of an arc. When you first talk to him, he's unbearable in how he wants to get stronger at all costs and treats Pokemon as mere tools for him to do so. By the end of Gen 2, however, he's still a bit rough around the edges, but his interactions and battles with you have taught him to be much more caring and understanding, not just towards people, but with his Pokemon too. Pretty good progression for a character that's the son of Team Rocket Giovanni, huh? I guess why I want to see Silver come back is mainly to learn what he's been up to and what he's like since we last met him. I feel like there's a lot we have left to discover about Silver, and him returning to be a rival again, or perhaps an ally against an evil team, would offer great insight into the character. Number 3! The reason I want Anabelle to return is because she helped provide a deeper look into the Pokemon world's international police. Before Sun and Moon, the only big reference we had to Pokemon's Interpol was Looker, and while I did think about putting him on this list, considering he's popped up in every generation since his debut, I have a feeling we'll see him again very, very soon. Anabelle, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. She's not necessarily the most integral character to Pokemon's story, but dang it, she's one of the more interesting ones. As mentioned, she's heavily connected to Interpol, so her showing up again could be to recruit you for a mission, or maybe even show you around the main police headquarters that's been alluded to. There's also a possibility that if she comes back, they'll dive deeper into her status as a faller, somebody who has fallen from one dimension to another. Maybe she starts to recover from her amnesia and has memories of her time at the Battle Frontier. Perhaps that can tie into a side quest where she's trying to find answers and you have to make sure attacking Ultra Beasts don't stop her. There's a lot of different avenues they can go down if they bring Anabelle back, and that's honestly why I'd love to see her return. Number 2! Yes, I know that Giovanni has been in numerous games, almost every single generation if you map it out, but the reason I want to see Rainbow Rocket Giovanni specifically make a return is because, number 1, he's technically different from the other Giovannis we've seen as he comes from a universe where he succeeded in his evil plans and Team Rocket never fell, and number 2, Game Freak set up a pretty major story thread with him. At the end of Sun and Moon, when you think you've beaten the Rainbow Rocket episode and saved the day, you see a small stinger that shows this version of Giovanni having tech to freely travel between dimensions. Couple Rainbow Rocket Giovanni having that device with us knowing that he's far more sinister than the other Giovannis in the multiverse that lose constantly, and that's a heck of a cliffhanger that I want to see resolved. I could speculate in fanfiction all day about how he could be weaved into future games. Like maybe he and Rainbow Rocket are going to different dimensions, gathering unique relics or equipments to build some kind of universe-threatening device. But my ideas aside, I do think Rainbow Rocket Giovanni could be an interesting antagonist to bring back. Once again, this is a villain that actually succeeded in their original plan, so who knows what kinds of lengths he would go to when put up against more and tougher obstacles. And Mr. Buddy's #1 pick is... I'd argue that Generation 5 was the first time Pokemon tried to tell an engaging and thought-provoking story with its symbolism of truths versus ideals. And one of these standout characters in those games, N, embodies those themes very well. As an orphan adopted by #1 evil father Ghetsis, he spent his entire life being told that humans and Pokemon should be separated, and that he would be the king to orchestrate such a feat. In the end, it was all a lie fed to him by Ghetsis, but the questions and thoughts he ponders in the game are genuinely interesting. Would Pokemon be better off without humans? Is it truths or ideals that drive you, and should that be what informs a person's moral philosophy and actions? To me, N represented all of that, and I'd love to see him pop up again with more questions and quandaries to ponder. Maybe in a future region, N and his legendary have gotten tangled up in some kind of moral dispute. Just off the top of my head, I'd love to see a quest where we really dive into N's character. And maybe there's two factions of people at war with each other that he's trying to help, but one is operating more on a truths perspective while the other is looking towards an ideals type future. Just an idea that would really play into N's strength as a character, but there's numerous other ways N could be incorporated. No matter how Game Freak would have to justify it, there is no denying that N is the Pokemon character I would most want to see return. Anyways, what are your guys' lists? Who do you want to see return in the Pokemon games? Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.